Sally Doty is in the house, Director, Mississippi Office of Broadband Expansion and Accessibility, called BEAM. Merry Christmas. How are you?
I'm just fine this morning. I think a lot of people want some broadband for Christmas.
I think it would be a good idea. That would make their Christmas. When you talk about all year long, you're right, all year long on that one. Just give us an update, Sally, on since the last time you were here. So the many, and I know every day there are things happening out there, but kind of an update for the folks across the state.
We have had a couple of our planning grants approved and funding, and that is great news. But again, it's just planning money, so it is not actual money that's going to put the fiber on the pole or in the ground. So we're in a bit of a holding pattern. We're waiting on some approvals by the feds for that. We are currently administering a $32 million grant. It's scattered out around 10 different projects around the state. So we are administering that, and we are patiently waiting for other monies, federal funding that is coming down.
Oh, so all the planning has been. What's the holdup?
Well, it just takes some time, and the holdup really is mapping, and that's what I want to talk about here today, is making sure that we have a true and accurate picture of what service we have here in Mississippi. So the largest pot of federal money for broadband build-out all across the nation that was under the Infrastructure and Jobs Act. It's called the BEAD, B-E-A-D program. And I think it's about $45 billion that's going to be allocated among the states. And it is allocated due to how many unserved or underserved locations you have in your state. So as you can imagine, there is a very intense mapping process going on. They're doing a new map. The FCC is doing a new national map that the first draft of that just came out on November 18th. As we expected, it had some problems. It shows Mississippi covered a good bit more than we are. And so we are also doing our own state map. And we are looking to gather some information from individuals out there, and we need your help. We have a new website we're rolling out today.
It is?
It is broadbandms.com. So you can go to that website, broadbandms.com. It takes probably 2 minutes, and when you go to that website, it will run actually 3 different speed tests, so we can get an accurate assessment of what the speed is at your home or at your business. And then while you're waiting on that speed test, it takes just a minute to do it. There are a couple of different survey questions just so we can understand a bit about your usage and, you know, what you use your internet for, how many people you have in your family. And this is going to be very important to us as we get our state map together. So we have all of that data. All that data goes to our office, the BEAM office. We're a new state agency. Legislation created us. The governor signed us into law over in April. We started work July 1. And we've been, and we will gather all that information. It will come straight to us for us to use to create our Mississippi broadband map.
I'm just thinking about this. If they do have pretty good service, but I mean it's out of reach for, or I should satellite. Let's just say but they still want to participate. How do they do that?
Yeah, go right ahead. Go to Broadband MS.
It's okay to do it that way.
Yes. Okay. Do it. You know, it's interesting for you to check your service and see what your speeds are. If we do not have service at all, we have a phone number that you can call, and it's a recording. It prompts you to leave your name and address. And that phone number is 601-439-2535. So if you do not have service at all, you might want to give us a call, 601-439-2535. It's not a live person there. It's a recording that will collect that information and then dump it over.
So is there a deadline, Sally, on this for the feds say, all right, we got to have this information in by then? And this is coming from all over the country, right?
Yes, every state.
From the outer stretches of Montana to Mississippi.
Yes, every state is participating in this. You know, some states already have their broadband maps together. There's some states who've had a broadband office in existence for, 5-10 years, maybe not 10 years, but, a longer period of time. We were little. We had to get ourselves organized to get together here in Mississippi and get our office going, but we've been very focused on it. I feel really good about the information that we have. Prior to working at the broadband office, I was over at the public utility staff. I was the executive director there, and our telecom division over there really had been working in this broadband area and had gathered a lot of information. So we also administered that $75 million CARES Act broadband expansion grant. So we've been involved in this for several years. A couple of people from the staff moved over with me to the broadband office. And I feel very good about where we are, especially as I talk to other broadband offices around the nation. But as far as a deadline, yes, our first deadline to report is January 13th. So we want to get as many people as possible to visit this website. Our goal is to have 100,000 people visit this website by the end of the year. And we are going to be pushing that out through media around the state. We're going to do some community meetings around the state. We're going to, take our iPads to some community meetings and help people fill out, information. And we're going to be hope to work through the schools. And we are just going to try to push as many people as possible to get this information out.
Do you have data on just the normal marketplace taking care progression of build out from the EPAs?
That changes all the time, constantly. Several of them are already built out. I think 4 EPAs up in North Mississippi that are smaller EPAs, maybe a single county or 2 county EPA. They are complete. 4 of them are. And there are, I think, a total of 17 who are building out. And of those 17, many of them will reach their full service area by this summer, I believe.
I'd love to find out, and might need to call Michael on this one, but I'd love to find out exactly what the subscription is and the participation after the build-out.
It's been higher than they expected.
Oh, has it?
Yes.
Well, that's good news.
It has. Many of them did their feasibility studies before about at the same time we passed the Broadband Enabling Act that would allow co-ops to get into this broadband business, and that was in 2018 or 2019? I think 2018. And so the feasibility showed that they would have about 30% take service, and I think their numbers have just been much higher than that. I want to say they've had at least 60%, 50, 60% take rate in most areas. Now, there's some areas where they have not. And, there's some co-ops who are building out, I think of Delta Electric, man, they are building out in some very rural areas, where there's maybe only 3 meters a mile, and that is hard. If you only have, one person out of those 3 who takes service, it makes it pretty difficult. So another, part of our job also at our Beam office is to work with communities and help them to realize, do some community engagements. We're going to have some programs later on, help them understand the benefits of broadband and why it is important to take service.
I want to ask you this when we come back.
Sure.
Is all of this effort, and I would imagine the EPAs are helping you as far as the promotion of this?
We are talking to them as well. We're talking to everybody. But, most of their customers, they've got service if they have built out. So the areas that have
even
not
the ones that are
out.
not participating right now.
We need the ones who are not participating. We need their service. We need their customers.
I would say the ones who are not participating.
Yeah.
But other than EPAs, who else is participating? And then we'll find out that. But the main person who needs to be participating is you, individually.
Anyone who's listening.
If you don't have, absolutely. If you don't have the broadband that you need, we'll talk more about this with Sally Doty, Director of Beam, when we return. Coming up next. Morning. I thank you for joining us on a Wednesday. Here we go. I'm testing my speeds. I have no idea what I test. I have Speed Test or Speed Smart on here. And my download is 550. Will, maybe 550.6. And my upload is 423.7.
You've got some good internet. You've got some fast, good internet.
Better be. C-Spire.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to check, make sure that's okay. So it's not like taking blood pressure. In a way, it kind of is, isn't it?
It is. It is. I again want to tell everyone the website where you can go. It'll run the speed test. So you want to be at the location where you need service or where where you have problems with service. So it doesn't do any good to do it at work if your problem's at home. So you want to be at your location, and it's Broadband MS, so Broadband Mississippi, broadbandms.com. And then we have a phone number if you have some problems or if you want to report in service if you have no service, 601-439-2535. And we're going to have that out on social media and push it out as many places as possible.
I will text it out in a moment or two
Great.
on Twitter at Paul Gallo Show. So if you haven't joined me, please do at PaulGalloshow. So on the broadbandms.com, it will check any device that you go to. It will check it, right?
Well, it checks the device that you're on. So you
Right.
want to be on your tablet or your computer. You want to be as close to your router as possible.
Okay.
The folks that designed this for us said, if you can plug it in from your router through your Ethernet cord would be the absolute best way to get the highest speeds and see what the highest speed is you can get. But if not, just get close to it and work through your Wi-Fi network. But you do want to do a couple of things. You want to make sure that no one is, streaming Netflix or videos or gaming while you take the test. You want to take the test more than once. We would love for you to take that test maybe 6-7 times throughout the course of a week. Take it at different times of the day if that's possible. The speed that you have during the day, if other people are at work, might be different than what you have at night when everybody's home and streaming, whatever. So if you could take the test, take it at different times of the day. And then, let's see, I think that's my for taking the test.
Yeah.
Then also for the survey, if you could collect a little bit of information, if you have this, it's great. If not, that's okay too. But we would be very interested in how much you pay for internet a month. We want to make sure internet is affordable for everyone. We want to know what download and upload speeds you're paying for, and if that is the highest tier of speeds that's offered by your provider. And then what type of internet do you have? Do you have fiber? Do you have cable? Do you have DSL? Do you have fixed wireless? Any of those things that you know and can tell us in that survey would be very helpful as we try to map out a complete picture, not only of all addresses in Mississippi, all of our broadband serviceable addresses, but also the types of service that we have in Mississippi.
And the door closes on that one January 13th.
And that is just our first deadline. This is going to be an ongoing process where we submit data. The feds perhaps come out with a new version of the map. We submit some more data. The allocation for the large bucket of funding is going to be made, though, June 30th. So we're going to be very intense on this mapping issue all through the spring, but it looks like June 30th, and they may push that date. Sometimes they do, but right now, June 30th is the date that they are going to say, okay, Mississippi, you have this many unserved and underserved locations, and that will allow you to receive this bucket of money for broadband infrastructure expansion.
I do want to mention this because I would be frustrated that I can't answer a couple of these things, and I'd say forget the whole survey. But if you don't answer all the questions, is it okay to send in what you do know?
It sure is, and I think we have an unsure or don't know on most of them. So, just go through it. Just answer it.
Or put none of your damn business in
There you go. None of your dang business, Beam. We're not going to tell you that.
Send in what you can.
We should have put "What do you want for Christmas" at the end. That would have been a good one.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go. Or offered a coupon or something.
Oh yeah,
I'm not sure.
It's an easy, quick little. I think it takes a minute and a half. It's nothing onerous.
One more time, the number 601-439-2535. One more time with emphasis. 601-439-2535. If you have questions, it gets to Sally's office. Am I right?
Yes, and the website is broadbandms.com.
So is there an objective from the office of we can be totally done with this by 2 years, 3 years, or is there some future date where we think we're going to achieve our goal?
So we are so dependent on the feds for when they make this money available. So I had hoped to say that, we'll be done with this in 3 years, but I don't think we will be. I think it's going to be a 3 to 5 year build out.
Yeah.
Because think about it, if they don't give us our allocation until the spring for this large portion of money, they'll give us our allocation. Then we'll set up our grant program. We'll start all the pre-award. Then we'll go through the competitive grant process. That probably gets us over into 24 actually awarding money. So this takes a while. I wish it could move faster. I really do.
When you think of two things that the pandemic did for us, it put us on a much faster trajectory as far as the need for that broadband, and two things in schools, of course, and telemedicine. And those two things in 3 years are exponentially going to be increasing as far as the need.
They are, and that's why this is so
already.
important.
How many of these kids ride for hours on a school bus to a remote area of rural Mississippi, and they're trying to do their homework, and they need that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They certainly do, and that's why this is so important. And really, the push on this is to get fiber out, and that is the gold standard. And yes, I know satellite maybe has its place in some areas. I know some folks down in Lincoln County, where I live, have hooked up with Starlink, and it's providing some good service for them. But it's expensive, and it's still a satellite service. So fiber is the gold standard. We're going to try to get that out to as many places as we can where it is economically feasible. If you're the last person on the dirt road, it may not be economically feasible to get fiber out to you. So there may be some other technology.
All that said, don't you miss not having to pack the bags and come to Jackson for 3 months? Just around the corner.
It is so nice watching all my friends in the legislature get ready to campaign, and I don't have to do that.
I forgot
it's pretty
about
nice.
that.
Yeah.
Just knocking on all those doors. I know you miss that.
I do. And, it was not really campaigning, Paul, unless it was 98 or 99 degrees. I mean, that's...
Yep. And you had to throw in the obligatory dogs at every place you go.
Yes. And, my absolute favorite thing was I covered a portion of Walthall County for a couple of terms, is I always got to participate in the butter churning contest.
Oh, yes. I often joke. I did run for office as a young man one time, and it helped me with this job here, of course, and I was in radio then. But I learned two things, and I've never forgot them, is that people who say they're going to vote for you don't.
Oh.
Number two, it's the small dogs you got to watch out for.
Yeah,
they will bite you.
They do. Any good politician carries a box of milk bones in their back seat. I mean, you have to.
That's the only two things I learned in that foray. Sally, it's always good talking to you. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate the update.
Thank you.
May you and the family have a very, very Merry Christmas.
We will. You all.